to introduce myself, Hayak Hayowis Nimchris Nayokat, Hitilaho na Hohon, Ma'am Api Inistuk Min Hayaw, Waki Insis. My name is Chris Medine, and I'm the director of the Native Resource Center. I have been doing a lot better at indigenizing my own experience at SDSU as a staff by learning how to introduce myself in my language. It's something that in identity development is super important, especially with marginalized communities like the Native community. Today, I'm going to cover information on the Native Resource Center, what we're doing, how you can be involved, and some of the things to come. There's a lot of growth happening. We're very early in the development process of creating this as a fully established center. So just an outline of what I will be covering today. I'm going to cover the mission that was created for the Native Resource Center, just a brief information about us, our team, what we look like, our Native Resource Center event and program philosophy, kind of the guiding tool that we use to create our events. I'm going to recap our Indigenous Peoples Day week of action that we just had last week, and then outline some idea, I guess they are ideas, some ideas and the process in which we're approaching Native American Heritage Month this November. We have our retention program, the Ilmash UCHAP program. So I will cover some information about that. And then a bunch of exciting news on what we have in development right now as far as support programs. And I teased one there for you. One is our Indigenous Ally Program. I'm very flexible, so if you have any questions that come up in the middle of something, feel free to ask. I won't get sidetracked too much with your questions or anything. So definitely feel comfortable to do that. And then just some last kind of closing thoughts and comments. So our center is very new. We were officially established last fall 2019. It was by a proposal submitted from myself, the American Indian Studies Department, the Native American Student Alliance, just to name a few. The fight for a physical space on campus has been decades long. Way back in the day, about 40 some years ago, there was a physical space that students called the American Indian House or the Native American House. So there was something on campus. We don't know if it was an official directive from the university, but there was a physical space that students utilized back then. So since then, we haven't had some sort of central location where we kind of call home. A lot of students had identified that as the American Indian Studies Department, which is in Arts and Letters. So there was a lot of need for a space to bring our students together to host events, to kind of further support our own internal identity development centered on our American Indian or Indigenous roots, to really honor our whole culture, our histories, and our stories. A lot of the times it's really about the narrative that we bring as Indigenous people. So what we're doing now is we're thriving in the virtual realm. We create space through our center lounge that we have. Monday through Friday, 10 to 4. We average, what was it, about 20 people a week visiting that space, which is not bad for people not wanting to be on Zoom long periods of the day. But we somehow manage it, create some sort of connection through that virtual space. That's also where our student assistants use time to collaborate with each other to create the events that we do. Right now, we're averaging 3 events a week, which is pretty phenomenal. And they range from, 5 participants, like in our community check-ins, which is a little bit more intimate, discussion-based, to one of our larger events, which was last Wednesday with about 160 people. So we definitely have a lot of different fields that we have operating virtually currently. Our team has grown exponentially. I was previously housed in the Educational Opportunity Programs Department in Student Affairs under the ILMASH UCHOP program. I'll talk more about ILMASH UCHOP in a little bit, but it's one of our retention programs focused on mentoring. So since moving from there and into the Native Resource Center, we've definitely been able to expand our team. Just for one, we have our faculty scholar, Dr. Gabriela Kovacs-Sanchez, who is, it's great to have another person helping me run the mentoring program alongside of all of the events that we do to support students and to kind of them their skills professionally. So we kind of have 2 sides of the house. We have our EY team, and then we have our NRC team. Our NRC program assistants, they're the ones really developing our social media, which has grown, our audience has grown a lot. We started out this year with around 200 or so followers, and now we've grown to about 600. So we, in just the month that we've been promoting on social media, our team has definitely grown our audience. We have a set of graduate assistants, which we haven't had before. It was myself, and then we just had our EY mentors, and they kind of helped with everything. They served as any sort of assistant that I needed, data entry, meeting with their students weekly, and that team grew from 5 individuals. Just a little bit about myself. I was one of the first mentors in the EY program. I was about to graduate at the time that the EY program was created, and I was asked to be a mentor. And so I was part of that first kind of established group, and to kind of be involved in the process almost the whole time of this program's existence it's very humbling to me to see how much we've grown. Our student assistants are, a majority of them are Native themselves. Not all of them are, but a majority of them are. So they can relate to the students that we serve, and they have a lot of passion for working in the Native community. Lastly, I did want to mention that currently our structure, our what do you call it? Our hierarchical kind of structure isn't actually a hierarchy. It's more like a circle. Yes, I have the director position, but there's a lot of input that comes from all of our individuals. But also I wanted to mention that we have 2 openings that will be advertised for full-time staff positions to help with the professional development that students get as employees of the university, to help with the identity development model that we have. I'll talk about it in just a second. And just to really kind of amplify our voice on campus and really push us further ahead than any other university, really. We kind of operate on a somewhat traditional Native American philosophy. This is modeled after the medicine wheel, which many Native cultures incorporate into their indigenous outlook of life. So there's many interpretations to the different colors, the 4 directions, north, east, south, west, and they kind of cover different aspects of our person and our lives. So sometimes they're associated with the seasons. Sometimes they are, like listed on the screen here, our own kind of makeup of like our mental aspects, our spiritual beliefs, our emotional makeups, and how we treat our physical being, our body. So what we did was identified 4 different areas that we wanted to kind of cover in our programs and our events. But that became very difficult because there were so many areas in which we can cover, we can provide support in, and we had to find a way to kind of combine things. So for example, health and wellness makes sense, right? We focus on our physical health, our mental well-being, right? So those make sense. Decolonization and sovereignty is often hand in hand, right? We need to decolonize the mindset and the structures that were brought over from the European colonizers, and dismantle some of that so that we operate our own tribal sovereignty, our own government structures that were in place before 1492 and for thousands of years before that. We also have our truth education, right? We want to be truthful with the information that we share. We want to make sure that there's a place for individuals to feel like they can learn about indigenous cultures in a safe way without appropriating. And then also our own personal growth, finding ways to be a better person just in general, to be a better professional, to be a better student, just that internal growth. And then lastly, to highlight our indigenous philosophies, our teachings, our languages, to really focus on the identity of indigenous people. So that's kind of the structure that we've kind of created. So every event that we do falls somewhere within this wheel. And just to show you an example of that, these are all events that we have done and where they fit within our structure. So for example, we've had discussions on Kumeyaay versus the border wall. We thought that topic discusses sovereignty at its best, right? The Kumeyaay Nation has operated for thousands of years before there's an existence of a border. And so their conscious effort to stop the border wall legally and by protest is an exercise of their sovereignty as an indigenous nation. And so that's one example. We do other things like our new Native Run Club, which has 6 student participants, which is great, covering health and wellness, right? Just being physical and mobile in a time where most likely we spend 8, 10, 14 hours sitting in one location on Zoom meetings like this, in classes, or just kind of socializing with our friends and our colleagues. So those are some examples that I wanted to highlight. This took a few months to kind of develop and fully kind of flesh out, and it's not perfect, but this is kind of the model in which we're using to move forward currently. So I'm going to take a quick pause, and if there's anything that you all wanted to ask, I think that this is a good kind of midpoint, if there were any questions.
I have a question about your Indigenous Hikers. Can you tell us a little bit more about that program?
Sure. So we've gone through a little bit of development for our Indigenous Hikers group. And so what we're kind of doing now is using social media to highlight why being in nature is important for different Indigenous peoples. Going on different hikes, they wanted to be able to bring students together. You know, in the non-COVID world, we would be able to do that, take them on a hike, discuss the area, talk about plants, talk about routes, kind of things that relate to the physical land that we're on. But we've adjusted that in a way that we can do the something similar through our social media. So what our students are doing now is on our Instagram every 2 weeks. Last week, what they did, they talked about gear, some important tips on what you need to do in order to like kind of prepare for like a long, maybe 10-mile, 20-mile hike, right? Or if you're just planning to like spend a day, you know, going on a route. Next time they're going to kind of talk about some potential routes that you can go. And then eventually we're going to kind of take them on a virtual hike with us, right? So our student is going to go hike one of their usual spots and kind of show how they do what it is that they do, you know, what they enjoy about the time being in nature, any information that they have about the area. It's still in the development a little bit, but we're definitely trying to adapt that to being available in a safe way.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So last week we held Indigenous Peoples Day, a week of action. So on one side of the screen, you'll see that we had a list of events that we held every day of the week. We covered different topics through each of those days. And they were all kind of selected where we can provide some areas of support. Excuse me. The Indigenous Peoples Day is an effort to decolonize and reclaim Columbus Day. Its goal is to like no longer tolerate erasure of Indigenous people from the textbooks and just mainstream culture, mainstream media. That's kind of perpetuated sometimes unintentionally. It's to bring awareness to the acts of genocide done onto Native people that I think is inadvertently related to celebrating Columbus. People celebrate him as, you know, someone to look up to, right? He was curious, he was this, he was that. But doing that erases what happened when he came. It erases the true history and the true impact that he had on all of our indigenous populations. I think in some pockets you'll find that he's like the original colonizer. He started many of the systems, like the slave trade business, that really suppressed and murdered so many people. And so it's been increasingly seen through the last few years that we're changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, because it's just another opportunity to kind of right some sort of wrong, right? Should we talk about Columbus and what happened? We should. We should do it from this perspective where we talk about the real history, not the fake history of, you know, he was the first one here. He wasn't the first one here. He discovered that the world was round, and he didn't discover that the world was round, and all these like falsities that kind of associate with Columbus now. And so last week, what we did was each day we kind of had a focus. So our first day was a teach-in on why Indigenous education is important, why it is needed to focus on or to refocus pedagogies on the minorities' perspective. So not just Indigenous perspectives, but kind of make sure that we honor both voices in history. So it was great. We also held a virtual art show. So we had Indigenous artists. We did a call out through social media. We got some great different diverse mediums. So one of those is the sitting bull that you see in the top corner, from a local artist here who's, I don't think they were an SDSU student, but they're an Indigenous person, and I think they were going to community college. So we just wanted to talk about some realness, but then still celebrate what it is that we do as Indigenous people. So we had some poets as well, a graphic designer, and then 2 artists. On Tuesday, we did our community check-in. Our community check-in is a time where we kind of have an open conversation about a specific topic. I'm drawing a huge blank on what it is that we talked about that day. I want to say it was Indigenous resilience. What does resilience mean? And how do we practice it? So it's more like of a talking circle, where everyone has an opportunity to share or just listen, to participate in like a group knowledge think tank type of deal. We like to honor our voices by getting us all together and sharing our experiences. As Indigenous people, you know, we're very orally oriented with our stories and our ideologies. On Wednesday, we had a discussion, a lecture on looking at the Oaxacan Indigenous people and the discrimination that they face, and the pocket of people who identify as Indigenous Oaxacan that live here in San Diego, and some of the racism that they go through, and how to kind of support their community when they've, you know, moved transnationally to escape whatever circumstances it is that they were escaping, whether that was violence or economic suffrage. We on Thursday hosted a discussion on the missing and murdered Indigenous women epidemic that's currently happening. Discussed the alarming rates at which Native women experience violence against them. And we had a great guest speaker, Jordan Marie Daniel, who is a runner and an activist, and a great charge on what people need to do to kind of support and uplift women's voices with this kind of issue. And then last, we rounded out the week with another discussion on the Kumeyaay versus the wall, and kind of what people need to know and what people need to do right now to support the Kumeyaay Nation, because there's a lot of stuff that's happening at the border wall construction site, and there's not a lot of coverage happening anymore. We kind of, our media kind of loses sight and has moved on to the next 10,000 and left it, you know, in the past of the last month. So we want to kind of keep bringing it up so that people know that it's still happening. They're still doing daily protests. They're still fighting in the courts to get this to stop. They are currently building on grave sites, on burial sites, where there are human remains that they are blowing up with dynamite. So that's part of it. And then other part is the unnecessary need for it that's being seen. So in total, throughout our entire week, we impacted 450 individuals. That was our virtual attendance for the entire week. Extremely successful. And I think people left feeling like they have some idea of what they can do to support very different issues that are happening in the Native community. One that we definitely have not been able to get to is what's happening in Nova Scotia against fishermen's rights. Tribal sovereignty and treaties have shown that certain rights are protected in this area, and one of them is the ability to fish freely, and commercial fisheries have came in and are trying to stop Indigenous people from feeding their families, and they've gone to extreme lengths. So hopefully we will kind of highlight that issue, but that's currently developing basically as we speak. So we'll definitely get some information on that. Just a quick little bit about our Native American Heritage Month coming up. This is a snapshot from last year. We are going to publish one next week. We are still kind of working on solidifying where things are going to go, but we will have so many amazing programs, very diverse kind of points that we're directing. One of them is our grand opening was canceled in March. So we will be doing some sort of virtual grand opening, not anything final. We want to celebrate with the community. We want to be able to bring people together. We're just going to do a virtual kind of placeholder so that we acknowledge that, hey, we're open and operating, but we'll celebrate bigger later. We had about 300 people RSVP to attend, and we know how people don't always RSVP, so we were definitely expecting close to about 500 people for sure for that event specifically. So we wanted to do something. Secondly, our graduation ceremony was moved as well because of the pandemic. And we'll be doing something virtually for our graduates for last year and this fall. in November as well. We'll be having different lectures on different topics, some of them relating to holidays like Thanksgiving, and much more. We'll be doing different art demos virtually, of course, and yeah, I literally just had a meeting about it an hour ago, and I'm so excited. But there's going to be a lot of different activities and events that people can participate in. And of course, they'll be open to our whole community, students, staff, and anybody really. I mentioned Ilmash Chop earlier. This is our retention program. It is a mentoring and seminar course. So all of our students who participate in this program get matched with an undergraduate mentor. Excuse me, undergraduate mentor. We have 9 undergraduate mentors and 2 graduate assistants. Our graduate assistants usually work with our transfer students. Both of our graduate EY grads are transfer students, so they have a very similar, experience transferring into the university. We are impacting 45 students currently. We have different classes every week, covering as many topics as possible, from note-taking, time management, resources on campus, to Indigenous topics like identity, blood quantum, reclaiming, language practices, learning about the Kumeyaay bird songs. We have different hands-on activities as well. And currently we mailed all of our students the supplies that they need to do a beading class. So they'll do handmade beaded, I think they're pendants or little earrings. And then they'll also make a medicine pouch, which I have my fancy version of one, but it holds, medicine that's important to us. And we use that in different circumstances. And so they'll be kind of learning about those items and be able to craft them at home in the virtual instruction that we've set up for them. So that's really exciting. And we hope that it kind of breaks up some of the long Zoom hours that they spend in classes. Some things that we have coming soon. So I did mention the Indigenous Ally Program. We will have, it's looking like it's going to be a 3-part Indigenous Ally Program, split into like different modules. The first covering Kumeyaay history and culture, led by, most likely will be led by Jacob Alvarado Whitepuk, our tribal liaison for San Diego State. And then the second 2 parts will be led by the Native Resource Center, which covers California history, California Indigenous perspectives, and then also national Indigenous perspectives. So we'll have, it'll be like a 3-part module program that'll be rolling out very soon. We also have our graduation recognition program. It just needs to be beefed up a little bit. We do have our Native grad. It's just to kind of formalize participation and how students get, their cords and whatnot. We have different items that we honor students with. I think I put them, yes, here. In the center here, these are beaded medallions for our EY graduates. So students who have participated in the program and are graduating from SDSU, we get our bead masters to create these medallions for those individuals. We'll have something similar for students who are very active with the Native Resource Center program as well. Just a way to, we'll also have a program to recognize student excellence. So above a certain GPA, you'll get certain recognition. Above another GPA bracket, you'll get another recognition. Just a way to promote academic excellence in our Native community. It is seen that our Native students don't get very high GPAs even at the university level. So we want to kind of incentivize it a little and hopefully help support academic excellence at the institution. We'll have a senior experience kind of pathway for students to participate in. It'll be those important life skills like budgeting, buying a car, buying a house, all these financial pieces, looking for your job, working on your resume, kind of these important things on which or which a student needs to know transitioning out of the university. Sometimes we can do better at preparing students for facing that real life that usually smacks us a few months after graduation. So we're trying to help ease that transition as best as possible. We will also be working with our Native alumni group from San Diego State to create like a mentoring program called the Native Alumni Connection, where they could kind of get paired up with someone who maybe works in a very similar field or the same field that they do, and just kind of help guide them through part of their college years, better prepare them for job seeking, and then maybe just to verify that, yeah, this is the career that I want to go into for sure. And then lastly, we'll be working on an Indigenous Community Service Network. There's a lot of opportunities to volunteer and support different programs that we have in San Diego County. San Diego County is #1 in most reservations in the nation. So we have a large area to kind of cover, and there's a lot of opportunities to give back to the local Native community. And what we're going to do with that is facilitate those some of those assignments as they're appropriate. We also have our partners with the American Indian Recruitment Program, which works with high school aged students, getting them prepared for college. So we'll have volunteers get community service for being a tutor, or just being like a mentor to that individual, helping guide them through the application process potentially. The options are basically open, really, with this community service project. But those are some of the bigger, more of like difficult on me programs that are coming out, but they're going to be very exciting for students who participate in them, and build on their professional skills and their own personal, really bring out a lot of personal growth by participating in some of these programs. So with that, that's pretty much all I got. We got questions. I think we have some time. I'm not sure, Jennifer, but here's some of our follow information, contact, my email as well. All of our events are posted on our website. We usually do it about 2 weeks in advance. So if you look right now, you'll see the events this week and next week. And then we also have our recordings on our website too of the events that we held last week and some other events as well.
I had posted actually a question in the chat about whether they were all recorded, and then I found them on the website. So looks awesome.
Gotcha. Yes, I've been definitely working my fingers off on making that very easy to navigate, and so I'm hoping that they weren't too difficult to find.
We do have time if folks have questions or want to hear more about any specific thing.
Chris, this is Liz Reed, and I work in the Military and Veterans Program. And I was curious, we similarly have a military ally program like you're standing up for the Indigenous program. And one of the things that I've been exploring a little bit is whether or not you can get a university designation. Right now, there's not really one for universities to say like we're a military friendly institution, besides ones that are sponsored by magazines or kind of other survey instruments like that. Is there a designation for Indigenous friendly higher education institutes also, or just out of curiosity?
There is. Or at least let me kind of clarify a little bit, because when you're just saying designation, I think of the HSI designation that we kind of have. Okay, so yes, there is something that exists like that. It's called the ANAPISI. It's Asian Native Pacific Islander, all in one, and basically we have to reach a certain same thing, certain demographic portion of our student population coming from that demographic, and we'll be able to access the additional funding potentially. What we're trying to do right now with Jacob, Dr. Wood, we are trying to make the university be more Native friendly in more than just appearance. So we're trying to integrate a lot of different things, some of which I talked about here through the Native Resource Center work, but other things like the resolution to include the land acknowledgement in every course syllabus. That's something that we're trying to show that we are conscious of Native issues and Native people.
Hi, Chris. My name is Taylor. I'm the undergrad advisor for the School of Speech Language Hearing Sciences. And I feel like I almost ask this every week whenever I'm in these meetings, but it's always my goal as an undergrad advisor is to also just increase, I feel like, knowledge of our major, since we're a very small major in regards to the grand scope of the university in terms of getting more diversity in regards to students who are in our major and understanding those sorts of things. Is there a way that you would recommend kind of going about like increasing knowledge of the fields of speech pathology and audiology in regards to students and those sorts of kind of, if you're getting my question?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's a pretty challenging question for me to kind of speak to. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think I'll have to kind of think about that some more.
Yeah, and I could definitely reach out via email too as well. And it's just something I know, and I brought this up last week in the EOP, and it was kind of a great conversation we were having back and forth a little bit about just the idea of like increasing knowledge of just like different majors that exist across the university. So any suggestions or tips you have, I would greatly appreciate for sure.
Yeah, that does make me think. I didn't mention what our campus population size is. There are two numbers that we operate, and your question just makes me think of this specifically because it was like I need to kind of understand and be able to help show individuals what our population looks like on campus, and it was related to major. And I was searching for a specific major, and it was marketing. And there were 4 Native students who are in marketing. And then we have 2 numbers that we operate with. Our all Native population, which is about 120, a little bit more. And then that includes grad students as well. And then our affiliated population, which is anybody who put tribal affiliation on their application information. That population is 850. So those are the kind of that's the kind of audience that we're in, right? Our 850 population of. I know that I have some tribal affiliation, some Native ancestry, but we've never talked about it as a family. We've never, we've never learned about it. So maybe this is the opportunity to do so. But long story short, it just makes me think that maybe we need to understand more what majors are the most popular for our students. I could just off the top of my head, biology and chemistry are some, but and I know that business is right there too, but most of those students end up switching to something else. But it'd be good to know what it is that they switch to, and if speech language is something that they could be going into and working with native languages. Not sure. So yeah, I would definitely love to follow up about that. So
wonderful. Thank you for the work you're doing. It's amazing for sure. So greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention too that Kate and I have worked with each other for a few years now. Not only while I was a student, but also when I was hired for the university and supporting the EY program with Kate's academic department. It's been one of the things that we're doing right now is bringing together a lot of these Native initiatives that spread out across campus, and Kate's always had a place.
Well, it's a big job for a very small team, and you've been a huge player on the team and taking a leadership role. And I'm so happy that you're the director at the Native Resource Center and that there's now a home. And although we can't all go there right now in person, you're really doing an incredible job. So I was happy to be here today to learn more about what you're doing and support you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Hey, Chris, this is Melissa Gonzalez from Career Services. For what was the title of the program you said, mentor, the Native Alumni Mentoring Program? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's a draft name, but it's the Native Alumni Connection.
So just an idea, I don't know if you've thought about connecting with Diane Marin, who oversees the Aztec Mentor Program, since that what you're talking about, career and an alum who is mentoring a student, that's what the Aztec Mentor Program is. So it might be a good connection there.
Yes, definitely. In previous years, I was like one of 2 Native mentors in the Aztec Mentor Program. So I'm hoping that promoting it through the Native Resource Center will get more individuals interested so we can move them into the Aztec Mentor Program.
Awesome.
Any other questions or thoughts from folks?